You got the raise. You worked harder. You stayed later. You delivered more than anyone asked. And when the number on your paycheck finally went up, you felt it. Genuinely felt it. For exactly 3 weeks, maybe 4. And then something happened that nobody warned you about. Everything adjusted. The rent went up. The expenses expanded. The lifestyle shifted just enough to consume everything extra you made. And now you are sitting in the exact same position you were before the raise, except the number is bigger and the feeling is identical. And here is the question nobody around you is asking out loud. If more money was the answer, why doesn't more money feel like the answer? Because you have been taught one thing your entire life: work harder, earn more, and everything will follow. That is the promise. That is the deal you signed without reading the fine print. And most people spend their entire lives honoring that deal while quietly wondering why the other side never shows up. Here is what they never told you. Earning more is not how people escape poverty. It never was. The people who actually escape, who build something real and permanent and impossible to take back, they did not do it by chasing a bigger number. They did it by understanding something most people never learn in their entire lifetime. They became harder to influence. And the moment you understand what that means, truly understand it, your relationship with money, work, and freedom will never be the same again. Machiavelli spent his life studying why some men accumulated power that lasted, and why others, despite talent, despite resources, despite intelligence, ended up with nothing. And what he found was never about how much they earned. It was about how clearly they saw the forces shaping their decisions. He wrote, the first and most important quality of a capable man is this: he sees things as they actually are, not as he wishes them to be, not as he has been told they are, as they actually are. Most people never develop that quality around money. And that gap between how money actually works and how people believe it works is where financial freedom either builds or disappears. 7 forces are quietly shaping your financial decisions right now, not forcing you, influencing you, designing the environment inside which your choices feel free, while the outcomes were largely predetermined. Understanding them does not make you a victim. It makes you dangerous. Because the moment you see the design, you are no longer fully inside it. Stay with me, because the 4th one will reframe every financial decision you have made in the last decade. But first I need to dismantle something you are carrying. Because if I don't, nothing else in this video will land the way it needs to. You believe your financial problem is an income problem. You have constructed an entire internal story around this belief. When I earn more, I will save more. When the salary improves, I will invest. When things stabilize, I will build something. That belief is the most expensive thing you own, and you never paid a single rupee for it. Here is what history confirms without exception. People who earn more spend more. Not because they are weak, not because they lack discipline, but because the environment around them was specifically calibrated to expand the moment their income expanded. The lifestyle inflation was not accidental. The upgraded apartment was not accidental. The better car that felt responsible because now you could handle the payments, not accidental. Every time your income grew, something in your environment grew with it and consumed the difference before you could do anything meaningful with it. This is not poverty. This is a more expensive version of the same trap with better furniture. Machiavelli wrote that the prince who relies on fortune alone will fall the moment fortune changes. And fortune always changes. The man who relies on growing income to solve a structural problem will discover one day that income stops growing. And the structural problem was always there underneath, waiting. You do not have an income problem, you have a clarity problem. And those require completely different solutions. Here are the 7 forces, not enemies, not villains, just mechanisms. Understand them and they lose most of their power over you. The first force is manufactured urgency. Urgency is the most powerful commercial mechanism ever designed, and it is aimed at you every single day from every direction simultaneously. Sale ends tonight. Limited stock remaining. Only 3 left at this price. This offer expires in 24 hours. Flash deal. Exclusive access closing soon. Understand something important. Almost none of it is real. The sale does not end tonight. The stock is not actually limited. The offer will return next week with a different name and the same countdown timer. But something in your brain responds before your rational thinking even engages. Your brain was built over hundreds of thousands of years in environments where scarcity was real, and missing it had genuine consequences. That ancient wiring was not designed for a world where billion-rupee marketing teams know exactly how to trigger it on demand. This is not weakness. This is human neurology being engaged with precision. You are not stupid for responding to urgency signals. You are human. The question is whether you remain aware enough to pause before that response becomes a purchase. Machiavelli wrote that the man who acts from emotion rather than observation will always be outmaneuvered by the man who acts from clarity. Urgency is designed to bypass clarity. Your defense is not willpower, it is time. The first shift is simple and nearly frictionless. Nothing that created urgency you did not feel before seeing the offer gets purchased within 24 hours of that feeling. You wait, you sleep, you return tomorrow with a clear mind. Most of the time you will not return, because without the manufactured urgency, the desire was never genuinely yours. That single habit redirects thousands of rupees per year back to your future instead of someone else's revenue. The second force is identity pricing. This one is more sophisticated because it does not feel like external influence at all. It feels like self-expression, like taste, like knowing what you value and choosing accordingly. You buy the brand, not the product, the logo on the shirt, the name on the bag, the badge on the car, the label on the bottle, and you tell yourself and genuinely believe that you are choosing quality or craftsmanship, or something that represents who you are. What you are actually purchasing is a feeling. The feeling of belonging to a category. The feeling of having arrived somewhere. The sense that the person holding or wearing or driving this particular item is the person you want to be or want others to see you as being. And companies spend extraordinary resources engineering exactly that association, building aspiration over years, constructing the psychological link between their product and the version of yourself you most want to inhabit. Then charging premium price for the momentary feeling of living inside that version. Ratan Tata was photographed for decades driving modest cars long after he could have afforded anything on earth. Not because he was indifferent to quality, because his identity required no external confirmation. He already knew who he was. And people who genuinely know who they are do not need to purchase that knowing from someone else. Machiavelli understood this completely. He wrote that the man who needs his environment to confirm his power has already surrendered it. Real position requires no performance. The second shift is one honest question before any significant purchase. Am I buying the object, or am I buying how the object makes me feel about myself? If the answer is genuinely the second, pause. Because you are about to pay a significant premium for a feeling with a very short shelf life. The third force is debt normalization. Something profound shifted in how debt is understood culturally over the last few decades. What was once seen as a condition to escape became reframed as access, as a tool, as simply how modern life works. Everyone carries some. It is not a problem. It is just the way things are. Buy now, pay later. 0% for the first year. Build your credit history. Low monthly payments, easy financing available, flexible terms. The language of debt was made comfortable, made normal, made responsible sounding. And an entire generation accepted the reframe because it came from everywhere at once, from institutions whose business model depends specifically on your comfort with permanent obligation. Here is what comfortable debt actually costs beyond the interest rate. The man with significant EMIs cannot walk away from the job that is crushing him. He cannot take the risk that might change everything. He cannot say no to the situation draining his energy, because the payment is due next month, and the month after, and the month after that. Debt does not just cost money. It costs choices. It costs the ability to move differently when moving differently would matter most. Machiavelli wrote that a prince in debt is never truly free because his decisions are always made in the shadow of obligation. Freedom of action requires freedom from obligation first. The third shift is treating debt not as normal but as expensive. Every debt you carry costs more than the interest. It costs a fraction of your autonomy. And autonomy, once you truly value it, becomes more important than whatever the debt purchased. The fourth force is the hourly thinking trap. And this is the one that reframes everything. You were taught to think about money in exchange for hours. You trade time and receive a number. And because this is the only model most people ever operate inside, they evaluate everything financially through this single lens. Can I afford the payment? Will the paycheck cover this? Does this fit inside this month? All of these questions share one invisible assumption: that your income is fixed, that what you earn per hour or per month is the number, and the question is only what fits inside it. Wealthy people do not think this way. They think in systems, in leverage, in assets that generate return whether they are working or sleeping or doing something else entirely. The employed man sells his time once. It earns once. When it is spent, it is gone. The man with assets built something that continues producing without requiring his continuous presence. He created once and it continues returning. He invested once and time does the compounding his hours cannot. Rockefeller understood this as a young bookkeeper earning modest wages. He was not focused on earning more per hour. He was thinking about systems that would not require his hours to function. That thinking preceded the wealth by decades. The wealth was downstream of the thinking, not the other way around. Machiavelli wrote that the truly powerful man is not the one who works hardest. It is the one who has arranged his circumstances so that circumstances work for him. The fourth shift is beginning the transition from selling time to building assets. Not dramatically, not by abandoning stability tomorrow, by starting something, anything that generates even modest return without requiring your direct presence in each transaction. A small investment that compounds. A skill offered to multiple people simultaneously. Something created once that continues providing value repeatedly. The amount matters less than the introduction to a completely different way money can move. Because once you feel money arriving without a direct exchange of your hours, everything about how you see the next 10 years changes immediately. The fifth force is social calibration. This one operates almost entirely below conscious awareness, which is what makes it so effective. You observe what your colleagues drive. You notice what your peers renovated or upgraded or posted about. You see the choices the people around you are making. And without any deliberate decision, your internal sense of what is normal, what is expected, what is appropriate for someone at your level quietly adjusts. This is not a personal weakness. This is ancient social wiring that was essential for survival in group environments for thousands of generations. Your brain monitors your relative position automatically. It always has. But in an environment of curated social presentation and strategic display and advertising, specifically engineered to make you feel perpetually behind, that ancient wiring cost you real money every single month without you ever consciously deciding to spend it. Every upgrade made because someone in your circle upgraded, that was social calibration spending. Every purchase made to maintain parity with an unspoken standard nobody set consciously, but everyone seems to be enforcing, that was your neurology responding to signals it was not designed to resist. The people who build genuine wealth at a specific point replace external comparison with internal measurement. They stop evaluating themselves against other people's visible choices and start tracking a single number that actually matters: their net worth. The difference between what they own and what they owe, month by month, year by year. When that number is growing consistently, the urgency of social calibrations disappears, because you have an internal reference that tells you you are moving in the right direction, and it requires no one else's participation or visibility. Machiavelli wrote that the man who measures himself against others will always find a reference that makes him feel inadequate. The man who measures himself against his own previous position will always find room for genuine satisfaction in progress. The fifth shift is tracking net worth monthly, with the same attention most people give their income. Watch it grow. Make decisions through the lens of what they do to that number, and notice how quickly external comparison loses its grip when internal progress becomes visible. The sixth force is comfort as avoidance. This is the most subtle influence on this list, because it genuinely does not feel like influence at all. It feels like self-care, like reward, like you have worked hard and deserve some relief. And relief is real and legitimate and necessary. That part is true. But there is a specific pattern of comfort spending that is not about genuine rest or enjoyment. It is about numbing, the automatic delivery order after a hard day, not because you were hungry, but because deciding felt like too much. The impulse purchase because the week was heavy, and this small thing felt like control. The subscription maintained not because you value it, but because canceling would require confronting how little you are actually using it. This is comfort as anesthetic, and it is quietly one of the most expensive patterns in modern life. Because comfort spending in this form does not just cost money, it costs clarity. Every time you reach for numbing comfort, you choose temporary relief over the awareness that would actually change something. The structural issues, the avoided decisions, the financial habits that need examination, they remain untouched. Waiting. Growing more expensive with every month of avoidance. Machiavelli observed that men will endure large future suffering to avoid small present discomfort. And the suffering they create by avoiding small discomforts is always far greater than the discomfort they were avoiding. The month your finances are tight, sit with that tightness instead of spending your way out of it. Let the discomfort show you something. Ask it a question. Why is this tight? What decision created this? What different decision could change it? The discomfort is information. Spending to escape it deletes the information before you can use it. The sixth shift is developing tolerance for financial discomfort without the automatic reflex to relieve it through spending. That tolerance is not deprivation. It is the specific capacity that allows you to see your financial reality clearly enough to actually change it. The seventh force is structured financial ignorance. This is the deepest and most important one on this list. You were taught almost nothing about how money actually works. Not in school, not systematically. You were taught to earn it through education and employment and labor. But the actual mechanics of wealth, how compounding works across decades, what an asset is versus a liability. Inflation quietly erodes purchasing power, how taxation can be managed legally, how investment returns compound, how the financially sophisticated actually structure their money. Those were never part of your education. This is not an accident, and it is not a conspiracy. It is simply a natural consequence of systems that were built for different purposes. Schools were designed to produce capable employees, not capable wealth builders. And there was no powerful constituency demanding that change. The result is a population with sophisticated skills and genuine intelligence that is almost entirely illiterate about the mechanisms of money. And that illiteracy is extraordinarily expensive. Not because someone is deliberately taking advantage, but because the people who do understand how money works make better decisions consistently and compound those better decisions over decades into outcomes that look from the outside like luck or privilege, but from the inside are simply the result of understanding something you were never taught. Machiavelli wrote that the unarmed man is not just vulnerable, he invites challenge. Financial ignorance is being unarmed in the one domain where the battles happen every single day, whether you show up for them or not. The seventh shift is the most important one: systematic financial education. Not courses promising fast results, not shortcuts. The patient, deliberate study of how money actually works. How compounding transforms small, consistent amounts into serious wealth over time. What distinguishes an asset from a liability in practical terms. How inflation affects every rupee you hold in cash. How the wealthy structure income and investment to reduce what they lose and increase what they keep. how markets work over long periods, and why most people's behavior inside them costs them more than the market itself ever does. This knowledge does not arrive quickly, but every piece of it makes you slightly more financially capable. And as the pieces accumulate, as your understanding deepens, as you make one slightly better decision this month than you made last month, the influences we have covered today begin losing their grip. Not dramatically, quietly, the way compounding works, invisibly at first, then undeniably, then permanently. Now pause. Think about the last 12 months of your financial life. Not the income number, the decisions. How much did manufactured urgency cost you? Purchases driven by a countdown timer or a limited time offer that created pressure you did not feel before you saw it? How much went to identity pricing? Buying what a brand meant rather than what a product did? How much disappeared into debt that felt normal but quietly cost you choices you did not realize you were giving up? How much of your time is still only sold once with nothing building in the background? How much was driven by social calibration, matching or exceeding a standard nobody consciously set? How much was comfort spending that relieved pressure in the moment and changed nothing structurally? And how much do you understand about how money actually works today compared to a year ago? Those 7 questions reveal more about your financial trajectory than your income number ever could. Because here is what the wealthy understood that most people spend decades discovering too late. You do not become free by earning more inside a life that was designed to consume everything you earn. You become free by understanding the dice clearly enough that it loses its claim on your decisions. Machiavelli said it in the language of power, but it translates precisely. The man who sees how influence works cannot be influenced in the same way. Not because he becomes cynical or withdrawn or suspicious of everything, but because he engages with the world from a position of clarity rather than a position of unconscious reaction. That is the shift this video is actually about. Not how to make more money. How to become the kind of person whose decisions are genuinely their own, made from clarity and intention rather than from manufactured urgency or identity hunger or social pressure or comfortable avoidance. That person earns the same income initially, but what they do with it is completely different. And what they build over 5 years from that different behavior is something the person they used to be would not recognize. Not because the numbers were always larger, because fewer of them leaked. The wealthy do not have a secret income source most people lack. They have a relationship with their own decision-making that most people never develop. They see the influences. They pause before the urgency. They buy value instead of identity. They treat debt as expensive. They own things that work without their hours. They track their own progress instead of their peers. They sit in discomfort long enough to learn from it. And they understand money well enough that each year their decisions get slightly better. That is not talent. That is not privilege. That is a set of learnable, observable, repeatable behaviors that anyone with the clarity to see them and the consistency to practice them can build into their life. You are not broke because you earn too little. You have been operating without a clear view of the forces shaping your financial decisions. And now you have that view. One word. Before you move forward from this video, one word. The word that describes the person on the other side of these 7 shifts. The person who sees the urgency and pauses. Who buys value instead of image. Who treats debt as expensive rather than normal. Who owns something that earns without their constant presence. Who tracks their net worth instead of their peers. Who sits in discomfort long enough to understand it. Who gets slightly more financially capable every single month. One word. Not a goal, not an aspiration, not something you are working towards somewhere in the future. Who you are from the moment you decide it. Because identity is more durable than motivation, more consistent than willpower, more powerful than any single financial decision you could make today. When the identity is genuinely set, when you are that person, not trying to become that person, the 7 influences we covered lose their grip naturally. Not through constant, effortful resistance, but because the person they were designed to influence no longer exists in the same way. You do not need more money. You need clearer vision and the behaviors that follow from it. Start today. Start quietly. Make one decision this week that the version of you from a year ago would not have made. Then another next week. Then another. Let the results accumulate in silence. Let the number grow while others perform. Let the compounding happen in the background while the world watches the people performing wealth instead of building it. And one day, not dramatically, not loudly, but with the particular certainty of something that was inevitable, you look at what you have built and understand something completely. You did not earn your way here. You saw your way here. Most people will watch this and return to the same patterns because information without decision changes nothing. A few will not. You already know which one you are.